Welcome to the V Show, Ankit. Pleasure having you here. And I still remember the day when I was myself entering into the entrepreneurship world, and I came to you and we discussed about how your journey has been. And then you were the first one who told me just go and take a leap and just try out things. Nothing is going to worry you. And yeah, so we are here again today, sitting together and discussing about things. Pleasure having you here, buddy.
Likewise, thanks, Vaibhav, for calling me, and I'm so glad that you did take a leap in one way or the other. And yeah, happy to share knowledge and experience, whatever I have, if it is useful for people who would want to take similar leaps. That'll be amazing.
So, Ankit, like, why don't we just start about telling about what you currently do at Branch? What is the general concept behind Branch, and just in a very quick intro about Branch.
So Branch basically is a deep linking infrastructure for mobile apps that helps drive better user experience for end users. And also, I'll give you an example, and also some sort of a measurement. Like for example, if I give you a link,
Right.
and I send it to you on WhatsApp, let's say it's a Flipkart link,
Right.
and if you click on that link and that opens the mobile web, even though you have the app installed,
Right.
then it means that they're not using Branch, or that's not a Branch link.
Okay.
Okay, so Branch links help drive the best user experience. Like, what do you as an end user of their channels, which is a website or a mobile website or an app, you want to have a seamless experience across all of their properties, right? Like for example, if I'm browsing something on my desktop, and then I suddenly go back and let's say I go and open, let's take an example of an OTT, right? I am on Netflix, I'm watching a show, I go back in, I open the app, and I can start from that exact same position. Now, that can happen when the user is logged in on both the platforms, right? But what's when the user is not logged in, right? Even then, as an end consumer, you expect the platform to know you or to give you the best experience. So, Branch helps in delivering that or giving the infrastructure to the apps so that they can build these user experience using our linking infrastructure.
Great. So basically, it's like a plug and play thing where for a certain app or any kind of an app, you can just take the infra from Branch and just integrate and get started.
That's it. Yes.
Cool.
So India, we have almost more than 60% of the top 200 apps that use our linking infrastructure.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure that in your phone right now, or whoever is watching, you have 5 apps that use Branch. So it has been pretty well adopted over the past few years.
Great. Like, I think this is a wonderful explanation of how a deep link thing works. Everyone will be able to relate to it because, yeah, everyone is, so much occupied and filled with all the apps and stuff in the daily life. Otherwise, the life doesn't work. So, moving to the other part of it, right? If we go back and talk about your journey, so your journey did not really start only at Branch, the entrepreneurship journey which you onboarded. You did a small startup while you were in college, then you did your professional career and job you started with Wipro, then again you switched to a startup as a CTO, then coming to Branch. So how did this happen? Like what were the learnings on the way, and how did you actually start, let's do something of my own rather than, just going out and doing a job?
And the way I sort of stumbled across it was during my college days. There was a small company in the basement of my college that my seniors had started. So I joined those guys because I always considered myself a good programmer, right? Like coming up in school, and I used to program a lot. So I always thought that I was a really good programmer, but I did not know anything about professional software development, right? Like for me, when I was probably 10 years old, a good programming was like, yes, I can write a palindrome program or a prime number program kind of a thing
You all start.
very quickly, and
Yeah.
everyone starts there. Then I built the small games, I built websites, and so I used to think that this is something that really interests me, and I'd like to involve myself more there. So I joined this company wherein we were building a software called a restaurant management system, which basically is a point of sale software for restaurants. And that is the first time I got exposed to what like real software is, which end users would probably use. So I got started learning C sharp, and this was way back in 2005. We built the software on .NET. I think 1.1, .NET 1.1. It was a Windows desktop app. We also built a mobile component of that, which the stewards in a restaurant would take and sort of take orders on the table. Now, of course, now these days these things are pretty common, but this is way back in 2005.
Yeah.
And we used like a HP handheld PDA, which was like this big in size, and I sort of built the app for that, and like FP used to run on a Windows mobile platform. So did that. We saw some success. We sold that to a couple of restaurants, one in Bangalore and two of them in Mumbai. And this was all when I was like 2005, 2006, 19 years old.
Right.
So that's where the bug of creating something from the scratch and the joy of seeing people use it in their daily lives or in their real lives, I think that was something that really drove me, and like I was really excited with that. So with obviously that business had faces its troubles, and then I sort of moved to doing a lot of freelancing. Started another company which was in the education domain, because I always had a soft spot for education, and it sort of runs in I think in my family, and it just happened that I'm probably the least academically qualified person in my entire family. It's still an internal joke. But and then started another company, which was a test prep tool for students in class 10. Like very simple. We partnered with some local coaching classes, right? But they are big, like 5-6 centers, and they had like I think 4,000 students across like 5 branches, and then we built this tool, deployed there. That happened. That is where it all started.
Okay. And then you moved to Wipro after that, right?
Yes. So I did this. Obviously, the thing is, it's easy to start, right? And it's a good thing that it's easy to start in these days, right? But once you hit, some sort of a scale, which in those days was just 4,000 students, and now we are trying to figure out like, will they pay money? How can we pay? Get money out of them? And the coaching classes that we were sort of partnering with, they didn't want to add it as a fee. So a lot of those challenges came in. Obviously, pretty early, we weren't able to figure that out. I still remember we launched a sort of a scratch card for 216 rupees.
Okay.
And the first student sort of called me and it's like, hey, that company was called Score with Pace, right? So the name of the coaching academy was Pace Academy.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, you score with Pace, funny thing. And then that person called me, is like, we want to buy a test preparation package for 216 rupees. And then I remember I took a bus to Malleshwaram, where that student came with her dad with 216 rupees in change, and I really gave her that scratch card. It was interesting, but then obviously it didn't scale up. We had invested, we had access to some sort of capital there. Didn't scale up. I realized I spoke to a lot of my mentors. One of whom was, my best friend's parents. Them. Mut's mom and dad, like they have been my mentors for a long time, and I think it's very important to those quite early in your life. I wouldn't say just career. So they said probably get more industry experience, see how things are done at scale, and just probably learn a little bit more. And I think I was at that moment, at that curve, wherein I thought that I had figured things out, and like, this is my thing, and I'm going to be the next whatever, scale this startup up, and all of those dreams of a 21-year-old. Not shattered. Joined Wipro. Interestingly and luckily, I hear this a lot of times from a lot of people, like when they had these experiences at these big services companies like MP, Wipro, and all. I had a really, really good experience at Wipro, and
You hear about Gupta, yeah.
I loved every day of it. And the good thing was that I joined obviously as a fresher, because I had a campus offer from Wipro. And as a fresher, I joined a team that was building product on .NET using C#, and I had been programming in C# and .NET for 5 years. So just imagine, like, you go in there wearing a cape, and like, oh yes, I'm a fresher. And then I think the teams soon did realize that maybe I can. I've done this before, so the ride was good. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about organizations, and learned a lot about teams. I learned a lot about professionals. I think because obviously the team in Wipro is built of professionals who have been there. Some of them were 5, 6, 10 years in their careers. So I learned a lot there, and I would still rate my journey at Wipro and all of the learnings as like really, really good.
But then how did it, then after Wipro, I think you moved to Let's Intern, right? You joined as a CTO. Then what was your mindset at that point of time, that you actually tasted a bit of that startup journey, and you wanted to scale, and you already had problems to solve, and you realize that these things you need to work upon, right? Which you were anyways learning at Wipro as well in different aspects. You were learning about professionalism, about teams, how to operate, and all those things. So how did that happen, that you realize that, okay, this is the time now, I think I am ready enough to launch myself, and let's go and try again in that startup thing where I actually belong. So how did that happen?
I'd be lying if I said that all of this was planned.
Okay.
And there's this, I think Steve Jobs said that you can only connect the dots looking backwards, right? I had not planned it. Okay. And maybe now, maybe later we can sort of connect the dots and see as to why I took some of the decisions that I did take, in those times. But my plan was simple. I think when I was in Wipro, and I was obviously doing really well, in the projects, and getting the appreciation from the team of being an expert, and I thought that, okay, maybe this is really good. I'm enjoying it. And then there was this big thing. I'm pretty sure it's still the same case even today. On-site assignments, right? I was working for a big investment from a bank in the US called Charles Schwab, and I went and told my manager, like, what, I'm going to take. I want to take an on-site assignment and just start processing my H1. And he's like, you have just spent 12 months in Wipro, you're a fresher, and there are these internal policies that did not allow. Obviously, I mean, now when you look at it, when I speak to people who have 1 year into the system, so I went and told my managers, like, it's going to be too late. And he says, like, dude, you spent 12 months. I'm saying that I'll do it for you next year, and you're saying 1 year is too late. Like, yes, it's going to be too late. He was able to get an exception for me. Went through that process. I had an assignment, and I was about to embark on that journey in 6 to 8 months' time. And during that period, what happened was I came across this listing for a CTO at Lexington, and that's also, like, it is just, I think, by stroke of luck that this happened. And
How
so
big?
I saw
How big was the company there?
very very small. I think it was started just few months before. The thing was they did not have a technical. The team did not have a technical co-founder,
Okay.
and then again, as a stroke of luck, Rishabh, who was the CEO, he was in coming to Pune for some meetings, and I was like, okay, let's see. Maybe everything that I did, and again, education related to education. I had a lot of ideas. I was like, okay, I'll go for a lunch with him. So I met him in Pune. We went for a lunch, and I showed him. I had an iPad, so I took my iPad. I showed him Score with Pace, which was a platform which was still built. It was still running. It was still online. Although I had not put, there was nobody else running it. It was just, but it was a functional platform. And the difference of the existing at that time, the Lexington platform and what I had in Score with Pace, like it was a big change. And then he saw that and was like, dude, who built that? I was like, yeah, I built it, and we ran it and we saw scale and all of that. And I think that's where things really, took off. I then went and met their team, the rest of the team, the investors. They had raised small capital, and they were like, join us, as a technical co-founder, come and be our CTO. And, I shared the passion more than the need for me becoming, a titular CTO, or me saying that I want to get into, entrepreneurship and do things. And then I was faced with this difficult decision of letting go of an H1B, which was in my hands. I would, in 6 months, because this conversation is around May, June, and how the H1 cycles are is that you start in October, and I had gotten the approvals and all of that. And I was like, this is really difficult because on one hand, there's something which is obviously very, very safe. It's a place where I know that I wouldn't fail, right? Because I'd been a .NET developer for 6 years, even though my experience read 1.5 years, and I knew everything. So there's no, like, I would still be that rock star if I had to be. So it's a pretty easy thing. Whereas on the other side, I was looking as like, dude, I'm what, 25, something of passion, and I see a passionate team. Okay, there's risk. Maybe this does not work out 6 months down the line. Uh, I did not think a lot, to be honest. It just happened in a second. I was like, chuck it. I will make other opportunities in my life. I had that confidence that if even if I give this up, because I had come through to make that opportunity for myself, not because of luck, but because of all of the confidence that I had in my abilities in that domain. I let go of that and I jumped on this, in which I was not very confident, because this was now a little different, serious business, and I had no visibility as to whether it will work out or not.
But I think the good part, or the learning which I take from here, is that you had the confidence to actually take that decision, right? I mean, that was a big thing, right? Because you yourself had worked as a developer for like 6 years, and then you were like, okay, this is a new opportunity coming in, let's try it out. Otherwise, I know I am good, I can handle things, and I can do well in job, so I'll anyways be able to perform. I think this was something which enabled that transition to be more smooth, right?
I think that's exactly the point, which is why it's easy for me to abhi, I can come and say कि नहीं अभी 2 साल हो गया था. I was planning to do it. It was not a plan.
Right.
ठीक है, so उस टाइम पे नहीं होता तो किसी और टाइम पे होता for sure.
Right.
But it just happened, and it's like those moments, right? Like these very small moments that will decide how you take the course, but the prep for that moments is when you are living every day.
Right. So how was Let's Intern then? Like, I mean, only being the only tech guy there and handling a team where everything has just started. So how was it?
It was a humbling experience. It was really Uh, like it was fun, but it was a very, very difficult experience as well,
Right.
right? And because we obviously, I went in, lots of excitement, went in, built a core group of engineers together. We are all friends even today. The rest of the team was good. Like they were also, on the top of their game. Uh, we built the platform from the scratch, and like the platform has some really cool features, for those days. And then we started scaling Lexington, and Lexington went, it scaled up and up and up, and we ultimately we reached on 4 million students, and around a lot of organizations and a lot of internships. We were the number one internships platform in 2013, 2014, the most part of 2014, and then we also had some really good competition, which is a good thing to see that there are other people who are trying to come after the space. Uh, Learning experience, and I think that is one of the experience that I still go back and suggest everyone that it's sort of a once in a lifetime experience. You need to put yourself in that position. There might be a lot of pain, when you go through that, but it's all sort of worth it. I have done other sort of smaller projects or tried starting up, wherein like even during when I was starting up, in college, that did not work out. That sort of tanked in 3 months.
Right.
And when that happens, I see a lot of people, they're like, "Ek baar tank ho gaya 3 mahine mein." So then you're like, "Chalo, this is not for me. Let's go back."
Right.
But the beauty is that every time something tanks, you come out of that experience learning so much, how much ever small that experience is.
Right.
तो इसीलिए मैं कहता हूँ कि if you have an idea, even if you think like whatever it is, just go with it, and then see how long you can stick with it.
I think this is really great. You eventually sold that to another company, right? And you
Yes. So we sold to Aspiring Minds. It's a Gurgaon-based company that helps in testing, test preparation, and things like that. They obviously saw a lot of value. We had created a lot of value, so which is the good thing. Which is I was telling you a little earlier, the platform's still live. I still come across people who still find internships or jobs through Lexington. So we did add a lot of value on both the sides, to the organizations that we are serving, to the students. It's just that we probably were a couple of years too early to the market.
Right. So I think this has been a really great journey anyways, but think of it like for someone who is just coming into a system, just coming out of the college, because I've seen you, as you mentioned, right, you tried something in college and you were confident about your skill set, then you joined the Wipro, and then you actually moved to your own startup thing. I mean, at a good, I would say, position where you were handling something and you were setting up something right from the core of it. But what if someone like right from the college and he has that, that bug of that intent of creating value in something, but maybe not able to get those options out there. So what is the general scenario? What is the general piece of advice there? Like, should he or she directly jump onto the jobs, or rather take on some time and experiments, or join some smaller companies? Because I mean, as the Indian society grows, like there is always that security wala thing which comes up, right? If you go to a job, there is job security and you're just moving out of college, how can you go to a system where there is no job security, right? There is nothing about the funds, nothing about the business, and you are just trying to enter into that. Well, I think 2013-14 was also maybe, I'm not sure, but you can maybe correct me that if the opportunities were in the similar fashion. I don't think so. I think like now we have more number of opportunities compared as the as the startup system and other systems are growing in the country as well. But what do you think a very young kid out just straight out of the college and trying to create impact in the village should do?
So my advice for someone who is, as you said, about to enter or entering, uh, figure out what your core skill sets are, right? And build on those skill sets, build on those strengths, uh, and be aware about yours, where opportunities are lying, what are the things that naturally come to you and you'd be good at, and also be very self-aware of what are your limitations and what are the things that you need to work on. Like for example, even today I know what still are the things I need to work on and I need to improve on. Opportunities are never uh, at least what I've seen is that you will find an opportunity. It might take some time. uh, I was when I had to shut down my startup after, that I did after college, scored a test and joined Wipro. Like, was I excited or was I too happy in the beginning? No. I waited 2.5 years for that opportunity, but I was waiting. But what was I doing during those 2.5 years? Um, I learned Android during that time, which had nothing to do with what I was doing, at work, because that was all completely different software. I learned a lot of other technologies. I invested, I think most of the money that I had, I just kept on reinvesting in learning.
I really liked this insight from yours that even when the time is not yours, you need to keep on pushing yourself hard to gain the right skills, or maybe trying drilling on more where you find yourself you are good at, because you never know when the time will come, right? The time will come. So yeah, uh, that is super great. I think this has been an interesting conversation. Let's now talk about your roles at Branch, and not roles in general, but also about the learnings you have had at Branch, because I think it's roughly 5 years there, and you
Yeah.
started when you started at a scale where the team size was total 30 all around the world, and now what is the size? I don't even know.
We are around 350, 400, around that number.
Yeah, so I mean that has been super crazy as well, and your roles has been also changing there, right? So in general, like my first question there would be like, how have you managed, or in general, like what is your take on acquiring skills, like because every role will require you to also upgrade, right? When you upgrade, your skill set has to also upgrade, not only in terms of technical fashion, but also about in terms of professionalism, in terms about operation and so many things, right? And you yourself are handling and wearing so many multiple hats across the branch organization itself. So what is your take there?
I think the only thing that sort of, one thing I want to call out with experience, and the reason which has sort of enabled me to be successful at Branch is the founders has sort of instilled or brought together the core values of the company, and that is instilled so deeply in everyone that it sort of, trust me, for me that solves 50% of the problems, right? And um, you might hear about, I don't know how it is because I don't have a lot of experience of working in like multiple similar startups, but then you hear about values and you hear about culture, and I used to think that probably okay, Silicon Valley, most of the companies are like that, but then over the past few years I've realized that Branch is in fact unique, even when it comes to some of the peer companies. uh, so those values have sort of propelled the company forward and with the scale, with what we have seen. I obviously have juggled in, I think, almost all of I've worked in, except for being in HR, although I did most of the recruiting work during the period when we were scaling up. I think I've been contributing in most of the functions. And then obviously in the early days, that's the good thing about it, wherein you have, I had the tech skills, I had, relatively good people skills, some other skills that I built. But today, as and when the things have sort of scaled up, now, like I started by leading a team of 3 people, and now only in India we have, a big team of like 35 plus people, and in APAC we have around 70 plus people. Uh, the the attitude of learning or the way you learn is something that you need to draw out for yourself, and that's something that I do for myself. Every new thing that I take on, I need to consciously go and erase all of the assumptions or understanding that I have about that new piece, try knowledge, and there are there are very simple learning frameworks to that you can build something that works for you and just keep on iterating on that. uh, I probably not might not be learning a lot of new technology or hands-on practice of technology in the recent past, but I'm still learning a lot about scaling up organizations, scaling up teams, making sure there's alignment, making sure we have great communication conduits between teams, and how it all goes up. So there is a lot of learning, and one has to invest like continuously
Right.
in doing that.
Yeah. So, this like before just ending the podcast for today, this is a very this is the last question of the conversation which I generally have. It's about a piece of advice. Now, I would make it more specific. A piece of advice for anyone who is, for example, remember the young Ankit, like the 2023-year old Ankit, and maybe he might be in a Wipro or any other place, maybe in a small startup or any other job, right? What is the one piece of advice for someone who is trying to create that impact and maybe not very clear about how things are, like?
Uh, Two things. One, find what you are good at, and that would be by default something that you are interested in doing, right?
And that is also a
See,
process, right? You learn by experimenting and maybe in the form of internships or taking on different projects, different kind of things, right? You learn that way that, okay.
as much as possible, and actually that you brought a good point as to how you do it is just by doing a lot of iterative experiments. Just pick things like I had picked a lot of I wanted to write, I wanted to code, I wanted to code mobile apps. uh, I knew that I would do something which is related to technology, right? But then even then I can still remember at least umpteen number of ideas that I would have brainstormed with my friends, and maybe started some, only worked on it for, let's say, 15 days. There were some ideas we worked on it for 3 months. There were some we probably worked on 6 months. Um, as many times you can do that, you should just keep on pushing there. It will give you a learning experience back. Like, don't think that if the first or the second or the third idea that you started did not make it to some sort of an external validation, and funding is an external validation. It has nothing to do with what you're trying to do. So don't be dejected by it. You don't tie anything with external validation. Just keep on experimenting. And it's also about this mindset that you need to have. I think one thing that I would strongly recommend, one of the books we recommend really highly is a book called Mindset. And that has some really good examples. And I wish I had read that. That book was not published in 2011, but I would highly recommend that to everyone.
Right. Even for me, I would like to add, like, sometimes whenever you are into a situation, right? I mean, having that mindset of expecting, okay, like things will not be easy and things will take a lot from you, actually makes the process smooth rather than just going and hitting and realizing, oh, and getting overwhelmed by the situation, right? I haven't read that book. Maybe I'll pick it up in the next suit. But yeah, even I strongly believe there. Yeah, cool. So
Grit and grinding is very important. Like, you need to grind through things. Things will not just turn up one day and be amazing for you. You'll have to make them.
right, and you have to create your luck, right?
Yeah, which is what it is. You just keep on grinding every single day, and you'll be learning, and you'll You'll, you'll everyone will find opportunities. It's just that how well you are able to receive them, and how confident you are in giving up things when you find those opportunities, right? Like when you have the core skill sets, you're pretty confident that even if it goes wrong or something goes wrong, like my skill sets are my skill sets. Like nobody can take them away from me.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Ankit. I think this has been an awesome time. I'll also put your LinkedIn handles in the description below so that people who want to maybe reach out sometime can actually drop by.
Of course.
Thanks for your time. Pleasure having you here.
Likewise, Vaibhav. Thank you and all the best.